The reptilians are also said to come from the planet X. Reports of a second sun orbiting our own sun may be taken as fact if one considers Nostradamus predicted that end times would come at the arrival of a second sun.
Because it's very difficult to say this is where the Illuminati finishes and this is where the aliens start. There are a number of views about UFOs. The first one is that all UFOs are human-made, came from the Nazi technology, and the whole idea of aliens is a psyop. There's another view which says some UFOs are human and some are made by aliens. View 3, all UFOs are alien. And view 4, there are no such thing as UFOs. That's actually the world that we live in. You either have a view on that or maybe you don't have any view at all. What actually will happen to make the majority believe? This is a very stable world. Now, you will say, well, it's not stable because there are wars. Actually, that is part of stability. That's been built into the human psyche. So we live in a very, very stable and predictable world, and people who are not enlightened are quite happy with that world. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about aliens or fluoride in your water or medicines. They don't want to know. This is the world, they're happy with it. So it's a very, very difficult environment for anybody to try and wake anyone up. I'll give you an example of the taxi driver, and the driver said to me, oh, I hear you're going to the TV studios to talk about aliens. I said, yeah, that's right. So he said, well, when I was in my 20s, I was really interested. But you know what, when the government never said anything and nobody ever came out, I just lost interest. And that is the point, that people go through a phase in their life where they're open, their minds are open, and they'll challenge and they'll ask questions. But because officialdom isn't supplying any sort of answers, and they've got the rent to pay, the mortgage to pay, it just goes out. The only way that the majority of people will believe is when a gentleman in a suit goes on the major news and says, ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. Aliens are real. We're really sorry we didn't tell you before, but you know what? We thought you would be scared and panic, but it's real. That's the only thing that will make people believe. You sat a spaceship for 4 days above every major city in the world. At the end of those 4 days, people would just shake their heads and said, oh, I must have had too much to drink. They are so conditioned, they wouldn't believe it. But they will believe somebody making an official announcement. Now that's not going to happen easily because the powers that be have no intention of making anything public. The only way they'll make it public is when they're dragged kicking and screaming to tell the truth. Tony Blair was a member of the Illuminati and is a member of the Illuminati and is a Satanist. Right. What about human-bodied, about alien souls? This is your question. You asked me about humans, didn't you? What about humans, but how about alien soul? What's the terminology for that? A hybrid actually is the body. We'll come on to that. I'm talking about a human body, but an alien soul. Do you remember walk-ins, star children? Okay, that's what we're talking about here. A human-type body, but with an alien soul. Just what do aliens want? And the problem is that the people who ask that assume there's one type of alien. If there was one type of alien, it would be so easy to answer that. So you've got what we call the reptilians, the mantids, the greys, some Nordics, who are all signed up to a set agenda. Somebody said Palladians, they're not signed up, that's a different agenda. So to answer what the aliens want, specifically the question would be, what does this particular group want? But of course the people who ask that question don't really understand. How do they get here? Well, there are two ways that you can get here. One is literally what we'd call extraterrestrial. We'll come on to that. That's so the tall whites. Somebody mentioned the tall whites. It takes the tall whites some 20 years to get here at about 2.5 to 3 times the speed of light. Others are a dimensional change, so fourth dimension. Some of the reptilians are fourth dimensional. So they will come here through a dimensional time-space, and that won't take them more than just a few seconds. Think about it. If you were a living creature as you are, you really couldn't spend 50, 60, 70 years in a spaceship traveling from one place to another. So you have to either identify a system of speed or a system of time to get you to where you want. The other question they ask is, why don't they make themselves known? And the answer is because they don't want to know. Because it would hamper what they're up to. If everybody was aware of them, Nearly every American would arm himself or herself with a gun and hide under the stairs. Every defence force of the country would feel it was honour bound to do something, and it would just hamper the situation. Added to that, the elite, some of whom are working with some of these extraterrestrials or extra-dimensional entities, certainly don't want you to know.
Do you not know that you are not free? You are part of my great plan, which is to slaughter you and your children.
And if aliens are real, then who in position of power knows about them? The answer is every major government of the world has a number of people who are fully briefed and fully know it. You have leaders of the CIA who know nothing. You'll have people in middle rank, like a major, who will know everything, and yet their general may know nothing. So it's called need to know. He said that he was aware of 50-something races, but Canada and America don't get on. America does not share a great deal of information with Canada. He was aware of what had passed across his desk. So his own intelligence had told him that there were 50-some races. But if you took America, which is the hub, the spider's web of intelligence, that figure would be considerably larger. Or indeed the Russians. Why don't they tell us about them? Well, they do, but they do it on their deathbed when they can't be got, or their families can't be got. They'll do it when they've resigned, or they'll do it like me, because I don't care. Extraterrestrial means literally a body, a biological body. So it's a biological body that has travelled here not very long, like the tall whites, biological, male and female, and have children. An extra-dimensional entity is an entity from the 4th, 5th, 6th, go upwards dimension that has travelled here in a craft that has opened a portal and has dimensionally come through. And you often find lots and lots of people who suffer from radiation sickness, burns. It's because when the craft is coming from one reality to another, there's a blast of energy, and if they're too near to the craft, that's when they'll describe they've got burns down their arms or their legs. An interdimensional entity is an entity that exists between the 3rd and the 4th. I prefer the word jinn, but if you go back to the Dead Sea Scrolls, they're known as Velom. And these are beings that live literally between the two dimensions. And the Satanists, the Dark Illuminati, the Dark Magic Masters, are able to conjure these Denzians from the interdimensional space through to do their bidding. King Solomon had a jinn, and he called the jinn through with his iron ring, and the jinn helped him to build his palace. In the West, we don't seem to really take it seriously. We look at it on the same way as we would pixies and fairies. But in the East, it's very serious. Those who've read their Quran, not only does it talk about the jinn, it tells you how to get rid of them. They have afflicted humanity for thousands of years. Okay, abduction. Abduction is the taking of a person when that person has not given permission. The trouble is, on occasion, the person has given permission in the past and has completely forgotten about it. But in most cases, the person has not given permission. A contact is when Alex Collier might be your classic contactee. This is when you are collected, sat down, given a nice cup of tea, and they'll tell you everything you want to know and then send you back. It's a nice, happy way. I'm not being silly. That's a big difference. Abduction usually ends up with you being experimented on, being harmed, and it being very unpleasant. Two ways to take a person. One is literally their physical body. You walk them out, you float them up to go into a craft, and off you go. And the other way is an energetic take. Again, here in the West we don't really understand it, but in the East they do. Those who understand that you have a soul and your physical body is not really that important. You have an energetic overlay. That energetic overlay can be taken and your body doesn't die, providing it's not taken for too long. So you can either be taken energetically or you can be taken physically. Physical, energetic.
Since the dawn of time, we've put so much fear in you that you have evolved without spines.
Mind projection. Many people can't tell the difference. An alien arrives in your front room and you think, oh, I'm in the Bahamas. No, you're not. you're in the front room. The creature's gone into your mind, and as projecting into it. Now it's easier, it's cheaper. It's less likely to be detected by the military. If a creature can come into your front room and give you an experience that you think you've been to Mars, but you haven't left anywhere. It's time efficient, and it solves a lot of problems. The thing is that most people can't tell the difference between when they really are taken or when the creature is interacting. And the sad thing is that a lot of researchers don't value that. Oh, it didn't happen. You weren't physically taken. It's rubbish. The creature came into the room, entered your mind. That is important. Missing time. Objects out of place. Where's my tea? Where's my ladder? Why was my teacup somewhere else? But there was no missing time, but it was objects out of place. So sometimes it isn't the time that alerts you to something's happened. It's what you were doing is wrong. That's not missing time as such. When people get put back in the wrong clothes or the wrong room from an abduction, that is because generally the Greys are trying to sabotage the program. I'm just talking about when you have a straightforward interaction, and 1 minute you were holding a kitchen utensil, and then the next minute you've got, the jack for the motor car, and you can't work it. It's a prisonable offence in America to fraternise with an alien, although of course aliens don't exist. It's a prisonable offence in America to swim, fraternise, or touch a dolphin, unless it's within state or federal approved oceanic centre. Now when you question that, they say, oh, it's about preserving them, protecting them. So yeah, but you can go and buy a 12-bore gun in America and go and shoot a moose. You don't do it for turtles. So the people in power know the very, very special nature of dolphins. Very special.
Are you starting now to see how much one does hate you all? We want you dead. I'm looking forward to a destructive 2016 with more war, fear, hate, death, starving children, pain, sorrow, and much pestilence.
We all joke about the missing link, but very few of us actually understand what it means. It means that there's absolutely no fossil record to show real humans evolving from a more ape-like creature. 200,000 years ago, there was a big change when modern humans evolved from less modern humans. And those of you who know anything about reptiles know that ritual and ceremony are extremely important. When you are taking part in a reptilian ceremony, you do not smile, because they don't smile. They can't smile. They have no need for smile. They don't have emotion. For everybody who stands here in front of you and says, I've had an okay relationship with aliens, there will be 500-600 who have not had an okay relationship with aliens. The perception is that most beings from the fourth dimension are negative to humanity. I am only aware of 3 types of reptilian. There are several. Is the royal line, Draconis? Well, the general public would be absolutely astounded to know that there are energy weapons. They are trying to integrate hybrids into the human society. We're talking about a human with what we call grey DNA, genetic material mixed in. That grid is not the natural grid of the Earth. That's not the ley lines. That is an energetic overlay. When you die, i.e. your physical body ceases to exist, your soul doesn't go back to source. It wants to, gets caught in that grid. It is struck with a huge amount of electromagnetic energy, which makes you forget, and then your soul, for want of a better word, I use the word soul, is put back into another body. And only sometimes when the process fails do you have what we call memories of past lives. Time and time and time again, souls are recycled on this planet. This is a prison planet. It is a space radar, and it goes up to allegedly about 12,000 miles. That's what they call the fence, a fence. And it's the radar section, anything coming into.
We will unleash the reptiles on the lot of you. It's really not funny. Every now and again we need a fresh influx of human blood to purify and clean our dirty, demonic veins, which in a way resembles the sewers where we originated from and where we want you to end up living.
And orbs are the consciousness of another entity entering your third dimension, I beg your pardon, our third dimension, simply because we're more dense. And when you project pure consciousness into a denser form, it will make it into a circle. So somebody is popping in and observing. It's not like a jinn or anything like that. That's somebody of a higher being zooming in, using his or her consciousness to come and visit you. So if you have orbs, somebody is taking an interest in you. That's an orb. And you can see them because they are manifest in a 3D world. Sometimes people won't see things, but the camera will. And that's because it's phasing in and out between third and fourth dimension. If you were fortunate enough to actually go, not so much to the pyramid, but to some of the temples that contain the real burials of the pharaohs, you will find around that time lots of figures which Egyptologists claim to be men with masks on. From Sirius A, you will find beings that are portrayed with cat faces. Very, very prevalent with the building of the pyramids. What we would call the lion people, for want of a better word, originated from Orion, one of the Orion planets. Orion's very important, as is Sirius, because there's a very big star portal, stargate there. The race divided, and one group went to one of the Sirius planets, and we would refer to those as the cat people. But they have a name, and their proper name is Kilroti. Kilroti. The Kilroti, the ones that worked with the priesthood to organise and build the pyramids. I personally don't accept the pyramids are only 5,000 years old. Okay, as a geologist, I would say you're looking at between 15 and 20,000 years. They have some very interesting pictures of cattle actually being lifted up. The only device that you could take an eye out or take a tongue out would be with a laser beam. Some of the Greys have what you'd call Harry Potter style a wand, which is a self-defense weapon. In fact, from the Roswell crash, they collected, that's where your laser beams come from. They are using or taking parts, some parts, glands, can be interchangeable with humans. If you make enough noise and bring it to the attention, they can't do it, because too many people have woken up to it. And the hope is they keep on doing this, and then the voices of dissent get less and less and less until something happens, and some people get wind of it, but not enough. It doesn't do the rounds on the internet. It would serve the Illuminati very well. I ideally hope that humanity can evolve. I ideally hope that humans can do what you need to do. There is no 7th Cavalry coming to your rescue. You are the 7th Cavalry. You have to make it happen. There is no one going to come and help you. And it's very, very important that you resist anything that is going to take away your sovereignty. Humanity is going through a very crucial, energetic phase at the moment. The problem is that your bog standard, ordinary, decent, lovely human wants to see a volcano erupt. They want stars and bright colours, because they are physical people in a physical world. If I can't see it and I can't touch it, it's not real. That's not the change that's coming. The change has got to come from within. Humanity has been on this planet a very long time. At some point, the DNA was completely tampered with to dumb you all down, to reduce your DNA strands down to 2, to take away your ability to be telepathic, so that you can't challenge the prison guards. If I was a being that could, I use the word feed, if I could feed on energy, how wonderful to have billions of people all being angry, having sex, enjoying football, and producing all that energy that I can then identify, hook onto, and survival. You have to evolve spiritually. You have to not accept the people who run the world as it stands. I don't know how long it will take, but it's an injustice on humanity. And really and truly, knowledge is power. People will say the reptilians have all gone. No, they haven't. Because if they'd all gone, you'd actually be a lot more freer than you are. But the time scale is 2016. Big changes who have been badly abused when they were children. Antiques Roadshow. Have you all seen Antiques Roadshow? You know what it is. Okay. It's the show where people pretend to be interested about the history of their object, and really they just want to know how much it's worth. This woman had some very, very expensive dolls. So the man starts talking about the history of the doll, and the person's going, yeah, get to the point. What are they worth? Wait, one doll's worth 500. One doll's worth 600. So we got to the last doll, and the guy says, have you got any idea how much it's worth? And she genuinely says, no, I haven't. I don't know. So he said, well, if it was to be sold at auction in the right place, this doll would sell between £15,000 and £20,000. The point of the story is that the 20 or so people behind spontaneously went, why are they clapping? Did they clap a doctor that saved somebody's life? Did they clap a nurse who saved someone's life? What about the guy who's a wheelie bin and you think, oh God, I've forgotten Mrs. Brown 50 houses down, I'll go back and do that. Did anybody clap? No. Why are they clapping? That woman's not going to give them any money. That's how controlled they are. Money is important. Why does a man who works in a bank selling stocks and futures earn more money than a nurse who saves lives? Why does humanity value somebody who makes millions of pounds for shareholders much more than a nurse? It's because life isn't valuable. People are nothing but things to be taxed. Please learn, please study. Only believe yourselves. Think and ask yourself what is the right way to go. You are sovereign, you are yourselves, and it's very important that you keep that. Whatever happens in the future, believe.
Because surface homes are far too good for you, you filthy rot.
If we have a closer look, we can see the outer shell here, the outer sort of sheath, with an inner part here. And this is very interesting. We can see that some detail in there that is perhaps similar to the detail we see within the spirit orb right here. On this book, we can see a pyramid here, this book on Enochian physics, the structure of the magical universe. And we can see the elementals represented around the side of the pyramid here. This top part here sits right on the sort of top of the pyramid. So this would be the spirit orb or the crown chakra. We can see representation here. Notice the little pillars here. In here we have blacks instead of green. On this book cover here we can see further representation here. It's interesting that they've mixed the words around a little bit. Here is a game, and around the sides of the game we can see these little orbs just here, here and here, the little balls, little spirit orbs that we could also put a round section here. These parts here probably look familiar by now. These would be groupings and representation of the elemental spirits and humans, by the way.
That you have evolved without spines. Which is unfortunate because to us they taste like ribs. It's the kind you get from your Chinese restaurant.
So, just a little bit of a comparison here with the chakras. This chakra here, this would be the Ajna chakra, the third eye chakra right here. And the Sahasrara chakra would be right up the top here. The crown chakra would actually be further up here. But in this case, we have the third eye chakra lit up. There are possibly rituals where only 3 of the 4 main elements are used in the ritual, although you could possibly have the 4th element in the center. There are lots of variations in the practice of magic. I don't have time to go into all of the different aspects of logos, but in this case here we perhaps have 4 around the 1, which we will see quite a lot. It's a magic system.
2 scumbags.
The Kabbalah straight away. And we have the snake and the serpentine energy. In the Kabbalah, the serpentine energy is said to be the arising energy, and we see the ascent of the spirit through the snake serpentine pathway. The descent of spirit in the Kabbalah, in the Hebrew system of magic, is said to be the lightning bolt. Here you can see it depicted as a sword, but it's often depicted as a lightning bolt, showing the flash of electricness. In the Vedic chakra system, the nadis are often drawn as snakes, and the energy of Kundalini is often described as being serpentine. What happens as the snakes, these are the 2 ascending snakes, there's 2 downward snakes as well, when they meet they bite and pierce, and from then the wings unfold. We've talked about snakes, and they've got lots of negative connotations, even evil connotations in Western, particularly Western Christian-based culture. In many cultures, the snake has got a totally different feeling and aspect. How the denigration of the snake in Western culture is perhaps shows how the Crown has used fear as a control mechanism through the binding force of religion. Religion even having its Latin roots in the word to bind, the verb.
Many people say that their lives at the moment are particularly hard. But it's not enough for me. I would like them much harder, and I am working on...
Hey you guys, just a little reptile update.
This video is a challenge to the entire YouTube population. I challenge you to prove that a reptilian
is the absolute truth and no work of fiction. The non-human being can't deny the reality and the truth any longer. To all your friends via email.
This video is a challenge to the entire YouTube population. I challenge you to prove that a reptilian
is the absolute truth. That various paranormal abilities of species like telepathy and telekinesis is the absolute truth. It is certainly difficult to understand. An extraterrestrial species be found on this planet. Not a human being like you, a reptile being belonging to a very old reptile race. Are mentioned in your religious writings like your Christian Bible and many of the ancient...
Do you not know that you are not free? You are part of my great plan, which is to slaughter you and your children.
At the beginning of 1947, yet another expedition by the American explorer Richard Byrd arrived on Antarctic shores. It was a very strange expedition. Unlike his previous three, this one was completely financed by the US Navy. Operation High Jump. Under the command of Admiral Byrd, there was a powerful military squadron, an aircraft carrier, 12 surface ships, 1 submarine, more than 20 airplanes and helicopters, and about 5,000 people on staff. A strange team for a scientific expedition. December the 2nd, 1946, before the start of his expedition, Admiral Byrd at a press conference said, "My expedition is military in nature." At the end of January 1947, full-scale aerial reconnaissance began surveying the Antarctic region of Queen Maud Land with a horizontal speed of 2,200 kilometers per hour. The developer of its main engine, Victor Schauberger, later recalled, the model tested in February 1945 was built in collaboration with world-class combustion engineer experts. They were made to test parts of the disc prototype within certain parameters, or were part of presentations to the authorities for funding purposes. It's vital to credit the German scientists and engineers who achieved huge successes. The Third Reich's leap in science and technology wasn't accidental. Flying out of Antarctic waters in 1947, regarding the sources that emerged from the water witnessed in the 1940s, and nowadays the recorded sightings of flights of unidentified flying objects emerging from seas, oceans, lakes, etc. I'm sure that in 1947 the Germans could not have had such technology, and neither could any country. But if the Germans did not attack the American expedition in 1947, who did?
I know that it's rather unfair for many families wanting a life of their own, but they're just not having one.
Emerging out of the water, shining saucers, spheres, cigar-like objects, with an analysis of ancient knowledge, brought incredible results. However, the defeat the Nazis suffered was not accidental. In the polar and surrounding areas are not unusual facts. Everywhere, unidentified flying objects are observed. Viktor Berezhnev, first-rank captain veteran of Soviet Navy intelligence as a commander in Soviet Navy intelligence. These unidentified flying objects don't only exist in the form of a glowing ball of some vague nature, but rather have a definite technological body One particular case I am familiar with was where, over the islands of South Georgia, very strange flying objects were observed. Emerging from beneath the waters, fishermen saw an object, as it is shown here on these pictures. Despite the strong wind, the object remained static for a long time. Clearly it wasn't a cloud. At night this triangle not only shone, but lights were at, and then, at the end of 1942, a lightly armed flying disc took to the air. It's alleged that before the war's end, 17 types of flying discs were made. The Germans wanted to use them as spying devices. The generals who took part in the Battle of Kursk, and two Soviet Union heroes I knew personally, a pilot and a tank commando, described to me what they saw. A disc hung in the sky during the Kursk battle. What was it? They did not know. Neither the Russians nor Germans recognized it. The saucer wasn't made by us, I assure you. Among these disc drawings and photos is a saucer identified as the Hornibru. Data on the discs reads like science fiction. According to descriptions, they used an alternative source of energy, the so-called converter of Hans Kohler, which required no fossil fuel. It was even planned to take the Hornibru 3 disc type into space. German photo seized by the Russians, 71 meters wide, is now hidden in Antarctica. Here's a trophy.
Since the dawn of time, we've put so much fear in you that you have evolved without spines. Which is unfortunate because to us they taste like ribs. It's the kind you get from your Chinese restaurant.
In the seized archives, another mysterious document was discovered. It was a blueprint for a huge 139-meter long cigar-shaped ship called Andromeda, with hangars for 5 of the flying discs of the Hornibru 2 and Vril type, for the secret bases of the Third Reich, including the Antarctic. According to American intelligence, by the war's end, the Germans had 9 research enterprises developing and testing flying discs. Were successfully evacuated from Germany. The 9th was destroyed. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Wendell Stevens recalls, were transported to Antarctica to the new place called New Swabia. At least one disc research company was transported to that location. The discs encountered in Antarctica in 1947 were probably not the same discs. This disc flew through the ship's rigging at such a speed it bent the radio antenna from its wash. Ones that had already been developed by the Third Reich. A few such prototypes had already been made. Some proved themselves well, and Germany's opponents weren't even close. With an analysis of ancient knowledge brought incredible results. For the Grail Cup isn't just a symbol of ancient knowledge, but also a centuries-old moral code. In Antarctic, Germany was shown wonders by the angels. The Germans described it as paradise on earth. As the war drew to an end, the Americans were able to seize the secret documents of advanced technology which mystified the Allies. Likewise, Russia seized documents, and they, like the Americans, rounded up as many German scientists they could find. But most of the top scientists had escaped. 100 submarines were unaccounted for, and where did they flee to? Antarctica. How many trips did they make until they vanished? What made the Americans flee? In 1945, 18 months before Admiral Byrd's expedition began, 2 German submarines entered Mar del Plata, port in Argentina, surrendering to authorities. These were no ordinary submarines. They were from the so-called Führer convoy, a top-secret fleet fulfilling missions. Details have remained a secret till now. The submarine crews were reluctant to cooperate. Even so, the Americans learned a few things. The commander of U-boat U-530 spoke of his involvement in an operation codenamed Valkyrie 2. 2 weeks before the war's end, the U-boat U-530 left the quay, heading for the shores of Antarctica. On board of the submarine were passengers with faces covered in bandages, as well as Third Reich relics. The commander of another U-boat, U-977, Heinz Schaffer, later testified that he followed the same route. it was found that German submarines repeatedly followed the Antarctic route.
As one sits here counting one's money and gold, one knows one is better than you.
In 1820 it was discovered by two Russian explorers, Yahshua and Lazarev. Since then, this mysterious continent, bigger than Europe, continues to attract explorers like a magnet. However, the 10-metre high sheer icy shores made the continent impregnable for many years. For almost a century, Antarctica remained unknown. Only coastlines were marked on the map. Suddenly, this distant and useless icy continent aroused a strange interest in the Germans. Large funds were allocated for Antarctic study. 2 research expeditions were arranged. This happened just before the war was due to start. In January 1939, 2 catapult-controlled airplanes, the Passat and Boreas, took off from the deck of the Schwabenland. They began patrolling Queen Maud Land, managed to secure for the Third Reich territory the size of Germany, New Swabia. In April 1939, the experienced polar explorer, Captain Alfred Richer, "I've completed the mission entrusted to me by Air Marshal Goering." For the first time, German aircraft flew over the Antarctic continent. This unusual mission then passed to the Führer's Seawolves, the U-boats. Later, Karl Donitz let slip a strange phrase: "My submariners have found a true paradise on Earth." In 1943, at the peak of the war with Russia, Grand Admiral, "At the other end of the Earth, we've made an impregnable citadel for our Führer." Back then, the Grand Admiral of the German Naval Fleet's words. Today we can only hypothesize what the Grand Admiral meant. Recently, huge underground lakes were found a kilometre deep under the ice. The lake's temperature is 18 degrees Celsius. Located above the water's surface are dome-like vaults filled with warm air. It's possible that from these heated lakes, a constant river of warm water flows into the ocean. These warm rivers may have formed large underground ice tunnels, perfect for the construction of secret bases. From the ocean's edge, any submarine could easily pass under the coastal ice into the tunnels, immune from storms and polar cold. At the start of 1939, regular trips were made between Antarctica and Germany in a specially equipped and modified research vessel named the Swabia, but were shocked to find thousands of highly qualified Third Reich specialists had vanished and weren't listed as dead. Over 100 submarines had also vanished. The famous polar explorer and admiral of the US Navy, Richard Byrd, received the order to destroy the Nazi base in Antarctica. But things went wrong. The resistance met by the American squadron even now raises many questions. Admiral Byrd not only reported fighter jets with incredible capacities to Washington, he also discussed an attack on the expedition by strange flying saucers. They emerged from the water at high speed, causing heavy damage to the expedition. On February 26, 1947, a battle took place, which is described by a member of the expedition, an experienced pilot called John Syrison. They flew vertically out of the water in a fury, slipping between the masts of the ships with such speed that the air flow perturbed and dislodged the radio antenna. The 2 Corsair from the Casablanca were slain by some kind of mysterious ray, shot from the nose section of the flying saucers. They then dived into the water near the ships. At the time I was on the Casablanca's deck and saw it as you now see me. I didn't understand these objects were silent as they floated between ships, like a satanic beast spitting deadly fire. Suddenly I saw the destroyer, Murdoch, which was about 120 feet away. The flames flashed and it began to sink. Despite the danger, rescue teams and lifeboats were immediately dispatched. To the disaster site from other ships, the nightmare lasted about 20 minutes.
Many people say that their lives at the moment are particularly hard. But it's not enough for me. I would like them much harder, and I am working on them.
When the saucers again dived under the water, we evaluated our losses. They were terrifying. Who did these flying saucers belong to? Could it have been Nazi Germany? After the war, in Nazi secret archives, intriguing photos and drawings were discovered. They proved that German scientists were actually engaged. At the time, nothing like this existed. Anna Nerby, when translated, means legacy of the ancestors. However, the Society's scope of interest was broader than ancient German history study. Nazi ideology was based on the theory that in the past there was a powerful Earth civilization with access to the secrets of the universe. Somewhere encrypted and scattered, this higher knowledge was preserved. Specifically, they were tasked with reviving the superhuman in Germany. It was tested for the first and last time on February the 14th, 1945, near Prague. The lift power was created by the silent flameless engine of Victor Schoberger. The lift power was created by the silent, again. Reports say the unpiloted disc reached a height of 15 kilometers, that's 15,000 meters, in 3 minutes. Americans have always been interested in the techno-magical legacy of Germany. Suddenly the inexplicable occurs. The expedition, designed to last 6 months, is quickly aborted after 2 months, leaving the Antarctic coast deserted. It was an actual retreat. The real facts. It all went to plan in the first weeks. Tens of thousands of photos were taken. Suddenly the inexplicable happened. The 6-month expedition terminated after only 2 months, fleeing the Antarctica coast. It was a real fast retreat. They lost a destroyer, almost half their carrier-based aircraft, dozens of sailors and officers. To commission investigation, members of the US Congress, Admiral Byrd said the following, quote, "In the event of another war, America can be attacked by an enemy that has the ability to fly from pole to pole with incredible speed, with incredible speed, with incredible speed."
It is true that the world has had to confront moments of darkness this year. But that is fuck all in comparison to what we have planned for you next year, you filthy...
Some Chinese residents are on edge this morning after another apparent UFO sighting. It's the second one in 2 weeks. The first sighting was on July 7th, and an airport had to be shut down.
All right, that's a UFO if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, can you identify it?
Scientists from all over the world are trying to figure out what caused a mysterious blue light to spiral in the sky over Norway on Wednesday.
Tonight, Norwegian authorities are investigating strange lights seen in the Arctic sky.
There's a new video this morning that some say may be proof we're not alone in the universe. A UFO in the form of a bright light is seen descending over the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem.
What was in the skies over Jerusalem? And why did it stop over one of the most treasured sites in Christianity?
We've heard the stories over the years, unidentified flying objects seen all over the world with no apparent explanation. Former Utah Congressman Merrill Cook took part in a unique mock hearing this week, put on by a group who wants to raise awareness on how the government handles these mysterious sightings.
I said, well, you're going to tell the public about it. And he says, no, we don't tell the public about this. It would panic the public.
bueno, זה יורד למטה.
יורד למטה, תראה, הוא מתחיל לרדת. וואו.
וואו!
אתה מצלם? אתה רואה?
אני רואה, מה זה?
תגיד, שתים יותר מדי?
לא, לא.
לא, לא, כולנו רואים את זה.
מה זה?
5 עיניים.
You have to see what our cameras caught on tape. Look closely enough at this week's giant dust storm and you can see the two bright lights whizzing by right in front of it. Tonight, they're catching a lot of attention and getting international buzz. ABC 15's Christopher Stein is live. Chris, it's crazy to think those two little orbs can cause so much controversy.
And a lot of people saying they're UFOs.
So many people are saying that, Katie, around the world. As a matter of fact, I found one website where people are calling for an all-out UFO investigation. Now, I'm on the ABC 15 helipad because right here behind me, Air 15, and you see that camera on the nose of the helicopter there? That's a high-definition camera, and as the saying goes, the video doesn't lie, and in this case, the video reveals the truth. You've seen the images and you've seen the video.
This was the biggest one I'd ever seen.
Think about what it was like in the air, in our chopper capturing the monster storm.
That was pretty intense.
Positioned in the back of Air 15, photojournalist Jesse Rutherford had a focused eye on the storm, but it's what he recorded coming out of the dust that's creating UFO headlines.
I didn't necessarily know that it was going to make the rounds on the internet like it did.
The internet chatter comes from international UFO websites, several of them, as a matter of fact, claiming our video shows UFOs. Those two white lights you see right there, some are calling orbs popping in and out of the dust cloud.
We're over the downtown Tempe area.
And at an altitude of about 400 feet, the video is linked on the sites showing those orbs. In many comments, but there's something missing. The end of the video. Watch closely. Yes, that's a plane.
We heard them on the radio. We heard the pilots describing the low visibility conditions as they were making their approach into the airport.
Both planes soon landed, but that video continues to be a viral hit from those wondering if the dust storm generated something else from out of this world. Christopher Stein, ABC 15 News.
ABC4's Barb Smith is taking action to find out what it was, Barb.
Robert and Karen, they tell us that they saw lights, but those lights were not from an airplane or a helicopter, and these lights dropped something as they hung low over the sky. Last night, both saw something in the sky that they can't explain. Mike was in the Air Force and says the lights hovering in the sky were unlike any he had seen. He was outside a shopping center in American Fork, grabbed his cell phone, and took this video.
But I looked up and there was 3 red lights, and then they started dropping, it looked like flares or something bright was dropping straight down.
Proste nejaká vec alebo predmet.
Spomínaný predmet je vidno v ľavom rohu. Najskôr sa vôbec nehybe, po niekoľkých sekundách sa ale náhle stratí.
Po nejakých 20 sekundách odletí.
Video si pozor.
We begin in the skies above Vancouver Island. In the past week, there have been multiple reports of strange flying objects darting across the horizon above Victoria. On Friday, a meteor streaked across BC, working its way down into Washington state. But it's what else was in the sky that night that has many curious, including a prominent UFO researcher who says he's now on the case. CTV's Gord Kurbis has the story.
A meteor tracking website shows the January 11th reports of people sighting a fiery object in the sky traveling from BC towards Washington state. But it seems that a meteor may not have been the only thing in the sky at that time.
There definitely some odd stuff took place on the 11th, and it took place on the island and the Victoria area, all around there, and definitely in the Lower Mainland.
Brian Vike is a UFO investigator based in Houston, British Columbia. That's right, the other Houston. His blog, The Vike Factor, is now filled with sightings from the 11th of strange lights and a triangular-shaped object the size of a school bus over Vancouver Island.
A woman had taken her children to school. She stopped. This is after a 6:30 meteor sighting. She had looked up, a flash in the sky again, bang, here comes this solid object, triangular in shape, 3 orange balls in each of the points. She watched it move along, it came to a hover, and then bang, all the 3 balls of light went into the center, and bang, this thing was gone.
I looked up in the sky and I saw just this light coming over.
It doesn't look like it's from Earth. It looks like it's from somewhere else.
We've spoken with Vancouver Islanders before about their strange sightings, and Vike has looked into many of them as well. He's been investigating UFO sightings across Canada with a keen interest in his home province.
What are you?
He was recently sent this video of a strange flying object over the Lower Mainland shot with a night vision camera.
And he's got objects doing all kinds of weird things in the sky at night and everything, and this is on a tripod steady and everything, so it's got some weird stuff.
Since starting, Vike has looked into more than 11,000 reports and says 90% of them can be explained. Usually people seeing light reflected off the International Space Station, and Chinese lanterns or search and rescue flares are often mistaken for more mysterious objects. But every once in a while, reports jump out at them, like this 2010 sighting by a woman near Campbell River.
This thing actually rose up from the ground, hovered a little bit, and then came towards her vehicle. By this time, she's kind of, getting a little excited and freaking out. And it went right over top of her vehicle, and it was another triangle.
Vike says 2013 is already starting off with an incredible number of reports. Anyone seeing strange objects is invited to contact him through British Columbia UFOs.blogspot.ca. Gord Kerpis, CTV News, Courtney.
If you noticed strange lights in the sky over the weekend, you aren't alone. KCTV5's Alan Shope went to Lee's Summit to get to the bottom of more than a dozen UFO sightings.
I mean, it's actually pretty large. It looked like it's about a mile away.
It was not something Felix Figueroa and his friends expected to see last weekend.
Make sure everyone immediately, while it's still fresh in their mind, draws a picture of what they saw. And so we all took out a piece of paper and we all do the same thing.
Yeah, a strange metal-looking ship hovering over Lee's Summit. Felix says he never really believed in UFOs till now.
We were all stunned. I mean, we were all just in awe. I mean, I don't even know how I didn't run off the road.
Felix is not alone. Margie Kay with the Missouri Mutual UFO Network says it was a busy weekend in Kansas City. 17 different people with sightings contacted her office this weekend alone.
This last weekend was really, really big. Saturday late night to Sunday morning during a 6.5-hour period. We had so far to date 17 witnesses call in about UFOs that they've seen.
No one knows if UFOs actually exist or why they'd be hanging out in the Kansas City area. One thing is for sure, for the folks who witnessed the strange events this last weekend, they wish they'd have taken pictures. Richard Vick wished he'd have taken pictures of a strange sight that he saw in the sky Saturday off 435 and 63rd Street in Missouri.
I was looking out my window towards the east. Under the tree line, there was an orange orb, and it was traveling, I'd guess, 40, 50 miles an hour. And it hit the tree line, and then it just started to move up and just exploded into like 5 balls.
As for Felix, he has a message for those who may not believe.
Definitely have second thoughts, and I would say that it's a possibility, especially after what I saw.
In Lee's Summit, Alan Shope, KCTV5 News.
Strange indeed. Well, we called Whiteman Air Force Base. A spokesperson says they didn't have anything in the skies Saturday night, and they are not aware of any pending UFO investigations.
UFOs, are they real or are they fake? Tonight, an El Cajon family is sharing video they say has turned them from skeptics to believers.
Yeah, it's getting real bright. Stacy Gibson can't tell you what she captured on home video, but she can tell you she's never seen anything like it before.
We were just, wow, this is weird, this is strange, what's going on?
Just before 10 Sunday night, Stacy's husband Todd was walking the dogs when 2 bright orange and white lights appeared to be moving in sync across the sky.
I've seen planes, I've seen satellites. With planes, there's always little tiny blinking lights. There wasn't anything like that with this. It was just solid, one color the entire time.
For 5 minutes, the mysterious lights shifted from north to south before they suddenly disappeared.
I was in awe. I mean, looking up at 2 orange objects in the sky that I've never seen before.
The FAA can't explain what the family saw, and so far only a neighbor has reported a similar sighting. Mel Podell with the San Diego chapter of the Mutual UFO Network says dozens of UFO hoaxes have been documented in the El Cajon area over the years, but can't say with any certainty if these are alien or fake. While the family knows their story sounds out of this world, they are convinced they witnessed a close encounter and will be keeping a watchful eye on the sky.
I think we're definitely believers now.
And of course, if you'd like to see more of the family's video, just go to our website, cbs8.com, and click on the Hot button.
I think they're friends. UFOs.
Shelby, calm down. You can't really zoom in on them though, babe. But hey.
One just disappeared. It just totally...
No, it didn't. It's still up there.
Orange thing right there.
Why are they orange? And what are they?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, stop shouting. Stop shouting. They are moving, Stace.
Those aren't planes.
I know they're not. I'm the one that told you they're not.
But they're creeping me out.
That one straight up there.
Can you stop it, Cody?
Shelby, stop.
It's moving real fast.
Stop shouting, Stace. You can't really record these very well.
You gotta get this one.
Okay, you can't really record anything.
Now it's blinking.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah, it's getting real bright. It's moving like this. I know. I know. It's not
the other one go?
It's not a plane.
I know it's not.
Well, it's kind of staying still, and then it's kind of like.
You think they're UFO friends?
Kind of going like, yeah, I know. It's weird. This one here, it isn't even, but they're equally apart. Yeah, they're equally apart, and they're both orange. Just same amount apart. Yeah, see, Todd, make sure you get them that they're equally apart and both orange.
Okay, calm down. Ouch.
Right above us now.
I know.
Yeah, they're equally apart and they're both orange. Straight ahead, they're always straight across from each other.
Okay, I know this.
It's like at 1 minute they're not moving and the next minute they're taking off.
But now the United Nations is getting ready for a contact with aliens from outer space. This is Moslin Othman. She's out of Malaysia. She will be planet Earth's first interstellar diplomat.
Retired members of the military now at the National Press Club in D.C. They're going to say these incidents go back to 1967, 1980. Now, they don't have any recent episodes. That could be because these gentlemen have all been retired for some time, so they haven't been in the loop. But they all say the same thing, that when they noticed these situations happening, they were all told you cannot say anything about them.
Which is good
the
for
United
us.
Nations knows that they're going to be doing this press conference today because now they're going to appoint a Earth contact ambassador for those aliens. Her name is Moslin Othman, and she's going to be known as the leader of the Office for Outer Space Affairs.
NASA's new Kepler spacecraft detecting hundreds of planets that they believe have the potential to support alien life forms. It is studying more than 150,000 stars, and that's just in one small patch of the sky, okay? If the 700-plus candidates are actually planets, it could triple the number of known planets in deep space.
Mysterious lights hovering in the skies across several parts of the country. This video is from Indianapolis of a strange formation that appeared this week. Now, people in Metro Detroit say they've seen something just like it. Last night, our newsroom and our Facebook page got several reports of strange lights in the skies over Metro Detroit. And tonight, Fox News' Ron Savage is on a mission to find out what they really are. Ron.
You know how we operate here. We do stories on talkers, and this is a talker. Everybody's talking about it. What are the lights in the sky? Mysterious lights in the sky. Many Metro Detroiters have been wondering, what am I seeing?
It wasn't quite as high as you would see. I've been watching the airplanes tonight, and it wasn't quite as high as them. And I mean, like I said, you could actually see the triangle shape of the object.
David Levy was outside Thursday night, 9:30 p.m. with friends in Flat Rock, and suddenly
we were outside, and up in the sky we saw a triangle-shaped light with, or a triangle-shaped object with about 5 lights flashing, heading north.
Who saw it first, a friend, or did you?
I did, yes.
Yeah, what'd you say?
I asked people, what do you think that is? And everybody was like, I don't know. And then later on at night, I found out that people had been seeing this object all over.
In fact, our Fox 2 Facebook page has been blowing up with hundreds of posts, people seeing lights like Lisa. She writes, I seen some in Southgate, but thought it was fireworks and weird for January. Nick writes, I assumed they were planes. They were flying in the same direction. I watched them for about 10 minutes, and I counted 4 or 5 of them. I'm over in St. Clair Shores. Mario writes, I seen it in East Point, off 9 Mile. It was something crazy. And Sean writes, I was the one who called into the Fox 2 newsroom and first broke this story. They were black, triangle-shaped objects making circles over West Bloomfield and Farmington Hills. There was no noise, and they had bright lights. I'm not making this up, and I know somebody else saw these things. These lights are all over YouTube. The original poster says they were shot in Miami this week. And these lights were said to be shot in Indianapolis. Is this similar to what David saw in Flat Rock?
This kind of looks like a stand in one spot, but that's exactly what it looked like, except there was 5 of them.
5 lights.
5 lights.
William Konkoleski of the Michigan Mutual UFO Network has also been taking calls from people who see lights at night all across Metro Detroit.
It's very possible that people are seeing military aircraft that they haven't notified us about yet, like the spy planes or also the stealth aircraft that have been flying on our skies now for a few years. It's well known that they were testing these aircraft well before they notified people that they even existed. Now, on top of all that, we have unmanned drones up in the sky, and those things really look strange, especially for somebody that has no idea what they could even be.
And certainly some people may be skeptical when they hear that somebody's reporting lights in the sky, but perhaps there is a logical explanation for some of these light displays. They've been reported all over the country and all around the calendar, all year round. It doesn't seem to be a particular time of the year when they're reported more so than others. And across Michigan and Metro Detroit, we're getting reports, and our Facebook page has been blowing up, as you know, recently, Huel, with a lot of people reporting these lights.
Ron, for years, the Air Force conducted an investigation of so-called UFOs. They found no official proof. Any word from the feds tonight about those strange lights?
Well, you wonder if the military's involved, as one of our UFO experts was curious there and mentioned. We did put some calls into Selfridge, the FAA. We didn't get any reaction. Could be a logical explanation for some of these light displays. I'll tell you this, there's no full moon right now, but we're getting an awful lot of reports of lights in the sky. Huel?
Certainly not a weather balloon, Ron. All right, thank you.
That's right.
There's a new video this morning that some say may be proof we're not alone in the universe. A UFO in the form of a bright light is seen descending over the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. The video is said to be taken over the weekend. Then suddenly the light shoots up into the sky. There you see it. Another video from a different angle appears to show the light doing the same thing. Those clips have gone viral now.
Breaking news on Highway 81 outside Stuttgart, Germany, where officials are investigating a strange occurrence that has baffled evening commuters. What started out as a regular day on the job for Ernst Becker, driver of a cargo truck, quickly turned into an out-of-this-world experience. This footage from the highway's closed-circuit cameras gives a glimpse of what happened. The truck was momentarily lifted off the highway, then dropped back on the ground. However, eyewitnesses claim to have seen a mysterious light hovering over the truck as this happened.
We are live at the A81 with an eyewitness. Tell us, what have you seen? I was driving on the highway and suddenly there was this light. It was really bright and everything went so fast. Suddenly the truck was in the air. I don't know, it was strange. I'd never seen something like this before.
An unidentified, metal-like liquid was also discovered on the scene. And to add further mystery to this incident, the cargo of the truck is now missing. Residents who live around the vicinity have been asked to be vigilant and to keep an eye out for missing
hier am unteren Hengstecke-Tunnel in Stuttgart, Deutschland, wo ein seltsames Fahrzeug von der Kamera angefangen wurde. Bei dem Fahrzeug handelt es sich vermutlich die verlorene gegangene Ladung von dem Zwischenfall, der sich auf der Bundesautobahn 81 letzte Woche ereignete. Wobei das Merkwürdigste daran lässt sich jedoch erkennen, wenn wir das von der Tunnelkamera aufgenommene Filmmaterial verlangsamen. Bemerken Sie das mysteriöse Licht, welches das Fahrzeug scheinbar verfolgt? Könnte es sich hierbei das gleiche Licht handeln, durch den der Fracht-LKW letzte Woche abgehoben wurde? Die Art und Weise, wie sich die beiden Zwischenfälle abgespielt haben.
Thanks for watching NBC 33 News Morning Edition. The time is 6:26. Okay, so you know how we ask you to send in your pics so we can put them in our newscast? Well, you got to see what one viewer claims his friend found at a hunting camp in Berwick. I really don't even know what that is. The guy who sent it in didn't want us to mention his name, but tells us this is totally for real. He says last weekend his friend's family found one of their hunting camps destroyed, but the SIM card was still there, and so was this crazy image. I put the pic up on Facebook, and this is what some of you had to say about it. Steven says, keep going down, this is a computer-generated Photoshop image, and it's definitely not real. Okay, the next guy says, bring it up, those swamp people need to eat some food with those 2-inch biceps, okay. And our next person says, hey, I've got one that my friend snapped up here in North Louisiana with the same cam. Stance alien girl-looking thing floating in the background. So here's that pic. Okay, really creepy, isn't it? And we got the music to go along with it.
Oh, that's way too scary. That's way too scary. No way. Especially with it being so cold outside, it already makes the shadows look spookier.
I mean,
I can't even watch scary movies. I'm such a sissy with that stuff.
I know.
Like, I have to, no, it's not real.
But at least we put it in the morning and not at the 10 o'clock show.
I mean, that'll wake you up.
I mean, nightmares. I was here at...
មានត្រីឆ្លាំងចាទម្ងន់10តោនគឺបានអណ្ដែតមកជាប់ទៅនឹងអ្នកនេសាទចាំមកជាប់ចាសំទោសគឺមកជាប់នឹងមងរបស់អ្នកនេសាទនៅខាងប្រទេសចិនហើយការពីពេលថ្មីនេះយើងឃើញថាមានត្រីគេហៅថារបៀបចង់ត្រីឆ្លាមបាឡែនយ៉ាងម៉េចទេរបស់បរិសុទ្ធដែលជាអ្នកនេសាទម្នាក់នៅតំបន់រីហ្សាវនៃខេត្ត
Dogs Heaven Observatory, Brasilia, Brazil. Time and date now. Amazing. Clear as day. Can't miss that, can you? The reason I'm saying that is watch down here. And there's the sun. Absolutely amazing. I'll try and stay on this as long as I can, folks. But you can, you know, definitely see that. Planet. Bloody great big planet. Another planet. Another planet here. They're not stars because they're too big. And that looks like the sun coming up, doesn't it? You know, you can observe the sun there, look. Even though it says south, it's probably out of adjustment a bit. But one thing I will say is that I've noticed that the sun seems to be coming up in the wrong position every day. Well, it should be over here, you know, if not sort of southeast a little bit. But look at that. You can actually see the crest of the sun coming up over the horizon. It's actually south. So, you know, how many degrees out are we? 4, 5 degrees more? You know, if you're talking about from there to there, that's a huge distance on a horizon.
So I don't know where this initially came from. Obviously there's some Chinese, so it looks like one of the stages of the rockets coming off. More stages of the rocket coming off, I would imagine. A picture of the rocket firing, or rockets. So now we get to this view from outer space, and look at that. Blue Kachina. Is this another inconvenient planet type thing. We got YU-55 coming in here soon. Looks like some animated pics. More animated pics. Would seem to be something about telemetry. Something goes in front of the lens there. There's a star again. I might try, let me see if I can blow that up a little bit. Like I said, this video was very interesting. The lens flare you can see is towards the left. The thing on the blue would appear to be some sort of celestial object. Pictures of the Earth. Yes, there's pictures of the Earth swinging up again. Blue Kachina. Something. Blue Kachina. Is this Blue Kachina?
I mean, look how big the United States of America is on this globe compared to this globe. And both of these are official NASA photographs. Maybe it's just me. But then you post a picture like the Chicago skyline, and everybody's like, well, that just looks like Photoshop. They don't question the crap coming out of NASA, where they can't even get scale or color right, and they're always using the same cloud covers. I mean, look how big the United States of America is on this globe compared to this globe. And both of these are official NASA photographs. Now, I had some guy on YouTube go off on me because I posted this saying what I'm saying now. And he's like, oh, just because some flat earther can put together some composite images like that, that doesn't prove anything. I'm like, no, do like 5 minutes of research, buddy, before you make comments like that, showing just how ignorant you are by condemning without investigating. These are actual NASA photographs, which I put right here on my blog, quoting from them. You can click on the space.com website, space.com, go to their own photo gallery, click on it, the picture number 4, and see the pictures for yourself. If you took a minute to actually investigate before condemning. The NASA website, same thing. You know, the other picture right here, taken April 22nd, 2014 on Earth Day. You know, NASA website, click on their website, go to their own pictures, look through them, pick their pictures, look through it, you know, because that's what I did. You know, take a minute to do some research before you go out there condemning people who actually do the research. Right? NASA, this is not some flat earther, you know, putting this stuff together to try to discredit NASA. They do a good job of discrediting themselves. They don't need flat earthers' help. So if you're going to question, you know, some guy who's just out there, you know, taking nice pictures, you know, he's out there taking pictures.
G'day guys, George Creek, Orchard, Mareeba, Queensland, Australia. Time and date is pretty spot on. Just going to show you something here, guys. There you go, look. That's coming up, but that's not the thing. Look at this. What is that? Once again, we've got the blue light. Can you see that? What is that? It's massive, whatever it is. I'll just go to the screen here. That's huge. It's coming up over the horizon. There's east, as you can see.
The image is dated 21st of October 2003 and clearly shows us an image of what we think Nibiru looks like. Now, if you look at the code on it, which is 2003 UB313, that's the code given to dwarf planet Eris, which was discovered in January 2005. So this picture is showing us something which wasn't even discovered until 2 years later, and it was discovered by Palomar Observatory, which was a team led by Mike Brown. They discovered it's a trans-Neptunian object. It's 27% bigger than Pluto. It's 0.27 the mass of Earth. Its distance from the Sun is 96.4 AU, or astronomical units, which is 3 times the distance that Pluto's away. So this thing's really far away. We're only 1 AU from the Sun, and you could call this planet X because Pluto's called a planet, well, a dwarf planet. So if we're going to demote Pluto and we demote this one, it's not really planet X, but it's so far away. The best picture we have of Eris is taken by the Hubble Space Telescope, and it looks like this. Now this is the Google box. Now, a lot of people have said that the image behind there is actually of Nibiru and Google is censoring it. Look at this. That's a creepy looking image, isn't it? You see the bits coming off the edge of it. This is what a lot of people are saying is the dust trail coming off it, which is the iron-based dust trail. So this is like iron oxide. And this is one of the effects they've said of the iron oxide is when it comes swishing by our planet and we get a dose of this iron oxide trail off it, it's going to turn the rivers and the waters to blood. So it will make all the water go red.
This was somebody in the past with a technology that we don't have.
Perfect crescent. And planet 1, planet 2, planet 3. Look at that. And you can't really see it on the on what I'm videotaping, but it's actually got a very red hue to it. It's mainly on the ends here. Bright light. So what you're looking at are real-time shots of real-time planets. Colours of the this little fella here. As far as I can tell, there's a bloody great big one planet there. There's one there, and it looks like there's 3 there to me. And of course, our mate, the smiley face. 5. So we just watched 5, 20, 21 it was. So watch this. 524. It looks about the darkest. Guys, explain that, for want of a better term. So that was 519, remember? 519, 519, there it is there. Now, let's go to 524, which is this one. And it's pitch black dark.
As temperatures around the world slowly climb, meltwaters from these vast stores of ice add to rising sea levels. All by itself, Greenland could bump sea levels by 7 meters or 23 feet if its ice melted completely. And it's melting. In August 2014, Eric Renaud, a glaciologist working at the University of California, Irvine and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, led a team in mapping ice cliffs at the front edges of 3 outlet glaciers in Greenland. The researchers found cavities that undercut the base of these leading edges that can destabilize the ice front and enhance iceberg calving, the process where parts of the glacier break off and float away. In Greenland, we have melt rates of a few meters a day in the summer months, says Renaud. What's causing this big thaw? Renaud's team found that Greenland's glaciers flowing into the ocean are grounded deeper below sea level than previously measured. This means that the warm ocean currents at depth can sweep across the glacier faces and erode them. In polar regions, the upper layers of ocean water are cold and fresh, he explains. Cold water is less effective at melting ice. The real ocean heat is at a depth of 350 to 400 meters and below. This warm, salty water is of subtropical origin and melts the ice much more rapidly. Renault's research team is providing critical information needed to document this effect and accurately predict where and how fast glaciers will give way. The team gathered and analyzed around-the-clock measurements of the depth, salinity, and temperature of channel waters and their intersection with the coastal edge of Greenland's ice sheet. They found that some of the glaciers balance on giant earthen sills that are protecting them for now. But other glaciers are being severely undercut out of sight beneath the surface, meaning they could collapse and melt much sooner. It's not easy gathering such data. On top of the rough waters, wind, rain, and cold weather, there's the ice itself. We came to study glaciers that discharge into the fjord, and the fjords are full of ice. In some places, it can be so full of ice that the boat can't even push through. But ice holds a peculiar fascination for Renault. I've always been interested in polar regions. My friends wanted to cruise in the Caribbean, but I'd rather cruise here in these waters. I don't know why, I just like them. Maybe this photo provides a clue. What's next? OMG, answers Renault, and he's not using ChatSpeak. OMG stands for Ocean Melting Greenland, the name of a new NASA-funded 5-year project that will take their investigation even further, to the four corners of Greenland by ship and by plane. We hope that the data collected will be a game-changer for studying ice-ocean interaction in Greenland, says Renault. It will help modelers make better projections of Greenland ice sheet melt in the future. Renault's results have been accepted for publication in the journal Geophysical Research Letters and are now available online. Stay tuned.
And the Bible also mentions the gods of Egypt, that God went to slay the gods of Egypt. And in Exodus 12:12 and Numbers 33, it speaks about God executing judgment upon the gods of Egypt. And you can see here Nefertiti doesn't just have a long hat, it's because she has a cone head. And the same with many of the Egyptian statues and depictions are depictions of them with cone heads. And also in Peru, as I mentioned, the DNA results are in, and they are not human. I suggest you read it for yourself in Numbers 33, verse 4. Now the Egyptians were burying all their firstborn whom the Lord had killed among them. The Lord also executed judgments on their gods. Now, don't think that they were a bunch of statuettes that God killed. And also it's confirmed in Exodus 12:12, chapter 12, verse 12. For I will go through the land of Egypt on that night, and I will strike down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. So those people who believe in the Bible also believe that these creatures were in control.
People are so willing to accept the stories of the pyramids, and yet are so unwilling to accept the very stories of reptilians that were circulating during not just the times of the pyramids, but long before they were ever built. The earliest tests of man proved to reveal a serpent race. Pyramid carvings, etchings, and writings also speak of a different race. A reptilian race of being that rules humankind. Stories of the queen consistently surface that state she, and her bloodline, is a reptilian. The president of Russia states the queen is not just the reptilian, but that he, personally, has seen a queen shape shift. An internal document acknowledging that Queen Elizabeth is a shape-shifting reptilian was briefly published as a press release on the royal family's official website yesterday before being taken down, but not before alert intranet users captured screenshots of the extraordinary article and proof that the press release appeared on Google. It is understood that the press release was a highly classified internal document designed to be released in case of emergency. For example, if the Queen was seen shape-shifting by thousands of people at a public event and the demand for an explanation became too much to ignore. Palace staffers have acknowledged that more and more people are catching glimpses of the Queen in her reptilian form, and the statement was prepared in advance. The press release does not use the word reptilian but does refer to the Queen and other members of the royal household as different to humans, and acknowledges that humanity has evolved to a point where more humans than ever before can see these others in their true form. All senior palace staff are aware the Queen is different, but protocol does not permit them to use the word reptilian in her presence. There is a tacit understanding. We accept it. Her differences allow her to rule absolutely and with authority over humanity, the palace staffers said. The reptilians are also said to come from the planet X. Reports of a second sun orbiting our own sun may be taken as fact if one considers that Nostradamus predicted that end times would come at the arrival of a second sun.
Because what they're doing is bringing that archonic reptilian reality into our world and making our world like theirs, more and more and more. Now, we have this thing, of course, going way back, which goes under the title of things like the divine right to rule. And what is that? That's the right to rule because of your bloodline, because of your DNA. And we have the ancient emperors of China claiming the right to be the ruler because of their descendants from the serpent gods. And the association between the serpent and the snake with royalty and royal families and royal bloodlines, just follow it back.
Do you not know that you are not free? You are part of my great plan, which is to slaughter you and your children. I know that it's rather unfair for many families wanting a life of their own, but they're just not having one. Since the dawn of time, we've put so much fear in you that you have evolved without spines, which is unfortunate because to us they taste like ribs. It's the kind you get from your Chinese restaurant. You scumbags. Are you starting now to see how much one does hate you all? We want you dead. I'm looking forward to a destructive 2016 with more war, fear, hate, death, starving children, pain, sorrow, and much pestilence. And also to finish you all off at long last. As one sits here counting one's money and gold, one knows one is better than you. Many people say that their lives at the moment are particularly hard. But it's not enough for me. I would like them much harder, and I am working on this for 2016. It is true that the world has had to confront moments of darkness this year. But that is fuck all in comparison to what we have planned for you next year, you filthy. The light shines in the darkness, but we will soon stop that, you scumbags. You think you might have a chance, but I am telling you now that you're all completely fucked. We are gonna do you and any other who crosses our family, or fucks with any other reptilian hybrids. We all see babies, but not until we have fun with them first. And why ever not? You just keep waving your flags and paying your taxes, and we might let you continue to serve us. We will unleash the reptos on the lot of you. It's really not funny. Every now and again we need a fresh influx of human blood to purify and clean our dirty demonic veins, which in a way resembles the sewers where we originated from and where we want you to end up living. Because surface homes are far too good for you, you filthy rotten. Thank you.